here. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to the first meeting of this council year of the Finance, Strategy and Management Committee. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Biddulph Town Council YouTube page. The aim is that decision-making should be transparent and in the public domain, which will involve more of our community in local democracy. By being in this council chamber, you are consenting to being recorded and for your image to be added to YouTube. The images and sound may be used for training purposes. Any views expressed are the speaker's own and do not necessarily reflect the view of Biddulph Town Council. Please view the guidance on recording in public meetings policy if you need more information. We now turn to tonight's agenda, and the first item of the agenda involves me as the town mayor to run the election of a chair for this committee. So may I ask please for nominations for the position of chair?
Councillor Rogers. Councillor Rogers.
Councillor Rogers. Thank you.
Second.
Seconded. Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Are there any other nominations? That being so, we'll put it to the vote. Those in favour, please. And that's unanimous. Thank you very much. I'm now a pleasure handing over here to Councillor Rogers and as chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, councillors, for re-electing me for chair of this committee for the 25-26 period. We've done a little bit about the YouTube, no need to do it again. So as we can say, as the mayor has said, it's Tuesday the 27th of May. It's the Finance Strategy Management Committee meeting. We've done number one. Number two, apologies please. We've got councillor.
You're deputy chair.
Yeah. Oh yeah, sorry, my mistake. On this deputy chair. I thought it's just been demoted to right. Chair just lost his job. This is not county council. Chair just lost his job, sorry. Oh. The second part of number one. Now a nomination for the deputy chair for this committee, please. Councillor Jackson.
Could I nominate Councillor Chris Wood, please?
We can. Do we have a second? Second about Councillor Hart. Any other nominations? All in favour then? That's unanimous. Thank you. Councillor Wood, the vice chair for this committee. Thank you. Now we'll move on to number two. Apologies, we have Councillor Hopkins.
Councillor Harper and Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Number three, declarations of interest, disclosure of pecuniary interests and any other interests. Councillor Yates.
There's a couple of references to the mayor's charity account and its monies accrued last year. So just in case,
Oh, yeah.
I don't think anything will come up which is relevant.
If anything crops up you think you should declare, do it at the time, please. Just cover itself and any other interests. All right. Moving on to number four. Confirm the minutes of the Finance Strategy Management Committee meeting held on the 22nd of April. These have been approved at the annual meeting of the Town Council on the 13th of May. Can I sign? Yeah, moved. Yeah, moved, seconded. Councillor Hawley and Jones.
You.
Need me to sign those now?
No, they've been done at that meeting.
All right, yeah. All right, number five then. Account matters. Approve the bank reconciliation for March 2025, all accounts attached. Want me to highlight anything or comment on anything?
Move it as received, Chair.
By councillor Jones. Second to councillor Hawley. It's obviously a big one. We have to look at members of YouTube. It is a big account that we look at before the meeting because it did take a long time to do at this point in time. Thank you.
Vote on that, Chair.
Yeah, all in favour? Thank you. And moving on to IB, see the draft income expenditure accounts for 24-25. That's attached also on your paperwork. Chief Officer, any comments on that at all?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, it's draft at the moment because at this point, these are the figures that will go to the audit team. So they'll be looked at by councillors Irving and Hawley in a week or two. Then again by the external auditor throughout the summer months. So that's why we just say draft here. But these are the figures we're working to at the end of the year end.
Okay. Councillor Jones?
Chair, yeah, I've just got a question on expenses on the account.
Yeah.
The butterfly garden, we spent nearly £5,000 on it last year.
Yeah.
Is that going to be an annual expense, or was that just to sort of get it straight in the first place? Is it likely to be less than that going forward?
I hope it to be significantly less than
I would hope.
that. Yeah, that was that. We had some major tree work done
Yeah.
back end of last year. And we had to have a road closure with traffic lights and all sorts to do it because obviously the position of it, but obviously we won't need to do that again. So
Yeah.
I hope
That was
it's be
the first one.
much less going forward.
Okay.
It's worth asking. Yeah, thank you for that. Any other queries, comments, or are we all in favour? Moved and seconded.
I'll move it.
Moved councillor Jones, second councillor Hart. In favour? Thank you, everybody. Moving on to 6A, to confirm the final internal control meeting 24-25. This is the audit done by councillors Early and Hawley. Tongue twist of that one. That's on to 6A. I ask you to highlight anything you wish to be highlighted, one of you two councillors, or as read?
Well, we'll do it when we do it effectively, and do what we did last year, which is basically review everything and.
So yeah, everyone who makes any comments, that was all. No.
No, there's nothing really to comment on until we have.
No. You want me to say what we want to do this year, anything like that? Anything?
Well, I mean, the annual review, we look at everything as far as the internet's concerned as well, whether things are actually in place and so on. And also we do with the standard quarterly review as well. It's pretty much a muchness really. I mean, it's what we did last year. We aren't going to do anything different.
Okay, that's what the point I was getting at. It's about as it was before, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not, we're not, as I say, it's actually detailed what we do.
I know, yeah.
So we'll just follow the procedure.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you for that. I just didn't want to rush through it, that was all. Thank you. Moving on to 6B then. From the outcome of the internal audit on the 16th of May, report attached. Now there's a little. Oh, okay. Whether something that you can discuss at a later point on that, not a problem for this one.
I think, Chair, the point to note here and the document that will go forward as part of the external audit is that obviously the internal auditor has signed her section of the AGAR, the Accounts Governance Report. And then the report there that she does for your information talks about what areas she's inspected, what she's looked at. So she's done, obviously we can do a lot of this work online for us, and she's also a number of requests of the staff for the documents. And then at the bottom there, she says, I conclude that Biddulph Town Council's system of internal control meets the needs of the council to a good standard. So that's pretty much the line you're looking for there. She's given us a couple of points to think about throughout this next financial year, but we'll, after we've got this process done, we'll consider those at a later date. I think that's perhaps the best way to do that.
Okay.
But nothing that's affected our audit. She's happy. She's happy as she usually is with this, so that's very positive.
Not early.
We have visibility of that to move our next into.
Yeah, I think that's what I thought I'll have some discussions with you at that meeting. I think just different practices we might consider with regards to scribe and that sort of thing, but kind of operational matters really.
Yeah.
We'll chat then.
All right, I should be brought up to date on that, no problem at all. It's just a couple of comments, that's all. Okay, anything else? Well,
Need to
okay,
confirm that then. Yeah.
everybody happy with that?
Yeah.
Favour? All in favour? Yeah. Moving on to C then. Accountability returns, AGAR, and a covenant statement containing draft figures for 24-25, which we sent to town council in June.
Because this is the document that those who've been councillors will see every year. It doesn't change much from one year to the next. It's 6 pages. There are a couple for us to do, one for the internal auditor to do, and obviously you can see there that she's that. The annual governance statement is one that we have to agree at town council in June. And the accounting statements for 24-25 gets done in June as well. So you get sight of those as a committee first, just in case there's any additional scrutiny that you think is necessary for those, and then therefore put forward on the town council agenda for ratification.
Any comments? No? Okay. All in favour then? Okay. Moving on to number 7. When the town council submitted an application for the Let's Celebrate Towns Award in the High Street Transformation for the High Street Transformation category. Now, there's a potential pot of £20,000 here if we apply. And as we know, we've seen a lot of high street transformations at the moment. So I can bring the chief option on, please.
Yeah, so you'll have had a chance through your agenda to have a look at that link. It's the same thing that we applied for last year, and we were shortlisted last year. And if you recall, there was an awards ceremony at the House of Lords. We were pipped at the post. But I wonder whether it's worth having another go at that. It's, there's no cost to entering it. And I do think we should feel very proud of some of the high street transformation and regeneration work that we've done. So obviously I don't put in these things without having spoken to you first, but I think it's not a tremendous amount of work for me. It's a very short application form. It's got a limited word count, and then it could be that we're successful. You never know, do you?
Fingers crossed. Councillor Hart, please.
Yeah, we're very, very good. Chief officer and the team are very good. It's applying for little pots of money like this, and we have been successful before. And it reminds me that possibly we could be successful second time in a rematch. So let's go for it.
Yeah, Councillor Jones.
Yeah, second that, Chair. Not in, you can't win. We nearly won last time, so let's have another go. I mean, we go for it. I'll second it. In fact, Councillor Hart moved it.
Yeah, I'm moving it.
Moved and seconded. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, just apart from some kudos about getting it, are there any other benefits for actually being in this? Are there any pots of money that are available?
20,000.
Oh, sorry, I thought I misheard you.
Yeah.
20,000 then.
20,000.
And
It's a chunk of money.
on further consideration.
Chunk of change.
Where's she going?
Thank you. Councillor Hawley.
I'm just sort of wondering, I mean, obviously, it's sort of an application, Let's Celebrate Award at High Street Transformation. I mean, effectively, what we're doing out here is there's a big thing on it. But does that have to be completed before you actually submit the application, or is it a case of the fact that we're doing it?
Yeah, when I thought about how we apply for this, I'd thought about the kind of the way that we've gone towards this process. You know, we've kind of developed the neighbourhood plan, we've done the neighbourhood development order, we've done the town centre master plan, which identified this. You know, we've worked with the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. There's a kind of a thread that's been going on for the past few years that I think that's really useful to demonstrate. You know, we can put all sorts of things in there as well. The very fact that we run the town hall and it's really highly occupied, I thought is a good point to raise there as well. You know, we run, in this day and age, there are not many people who are able to keep public toilets open. And I think actually that's a real positive for High Street and town centre regeneration and usage, because actually that makes it easier for people to think they can come into the town centre, doesn't it? So I do think there's all sorts of pockets of things that we could put in. We could put in the Station Road mosaic bench. That's High Street transformation, isn't it? You know, bringing public art. So I do think there's quite a lot that we can add to that. Well, that's what I thought. I haven't started writing it yet.
I suppose
obviously.
we can always submit a picture of what it's going to look like.
Yeah, we've got a lovely picture of that, that kind of artist's impression, and then we've got some nice ones of other areas in the town as well. I just felt like there was quite a lot of content for that particular element of the competition.
It basically put on here to say if you want us to go forward, the chief officer and our staff to go and push for this award. So
Got a proposal in a second.
now the proposal, Councillor Hart, second by Councillor Jones, all in favour to do that? Thank you. Get in touch on that one. Now we've got the go ahead to go
Thank
to
you.
start process of it anyway.
Nice job.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 8. That the town council should work towards signing the modern slavery charter. And what this is basically is people who work for us get paid a fair rate to start with. Chief Officer, please.
Yeah, so we've obviously joined this cooperative network, and they have access to all sorts of information that's essentially improves the service that you provide, and also those people who work with you. So that's the idea behind this modern slavery charter, is that we're very clear about our approach to paying people who work for us and with us. And then we would need to change our procurement policy to ensure that that's something that filters through everyone that we pay as well, so that we make sure that this isn't an issue that happens through any of the work that we commission. I don't think it's a big thing for us to do in terms of reviewing policies and making sure we kind of alter our practice on that, because actually I think we're very clear about that already. You know, we don't, if something's too cheap, we often identify it's too cheap for a reason. And you know, we obviously go out for competitive quotes, but we're clear about the value of things. I think it's just about formalising that and then signing up to say, actually, we want to be identified as an organisation that doesn't think this is acceptable. There's more information on that link that I've put on the agenda, so and you could
Move
put
it, Chair.
all sorts of stuff there if you wanted to.
Okay.
Move it.
So, Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, is there anything within this where we can highlight possibilities of people being abused as well? Because obviously that's eyes and ears on the ground that would do some good. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to go on the website.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what we should do. We should have a policy and a process whereby we can, if we feel that something's not right and we've identified potential issues, that we highlight those, and there's a process for us doing that as well. So yeah, it might be another policy for you, but it might just be amending existing ones.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Early.
There is a link on the website for exactly that. Report.
You can report, yeah. So I've not had a chance to go on the website. Our MPs, hobby horses and this one.
Councillor Hart is proposing that we go ahead with a seconder. That's all Bailey. All in favour? Thank you.
Can I say that I saw a BBC programme on the Channel 4 programme, and I didn't realise that slavery does exist in this country.
Yeah.
There are people that are paid to work 100 hours a week and have their passports taken away from them, who get suckered into this country thinking that they're going to get a bright future, and they end up as slaves, and it's dreadful.
Yes.
I think the immigration service keeps a very, very close eye out for people who are exploited like this.
Yeah.
So we'll amend whatever policies we need to, create whatever documents we need to, and move towards that. And then obviously they'll come back for your approval at a later date.
Okay. That's Jones.
Yeah, just to add to what Councillor Hart said and what Sarah said earlier on, it isn't just what Councillor Hart described. It is the fact that when you buy that T-shirt for £3,
Yeah.
you know, was it made here? Where was it made? Who was it made by? Under what conditions it's, and Sarah alluded to that. That's already on the radar, isn't it? And that's good. So we do have to look a little bit wider than just, you know, looking for somebody chained up to a shovel on a building site locally. It is a little bit more extensive than that. But
One of those will never happen here, but it could do basically.
considered.
Yeah, so we need to keep an eye on it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we shall carry on with that though. Had a second on that one, moved on.
Right.
Number 9. This is one that's been going on for quite a while actually. To confirm that Town Council will sign the terms of reference to relevant partnerships agreement for the transformation of the Trent Head project. Now, Staffordshire Wildlife Trust would like to get involved in this. I mentioned the other day, we do need to confirm who the landowner is definitely. I don't want to mention that line at the moment.
Can we move this to confidential, if you don't mind? I think there's specific potentially contractual arrangements which could name people, because I'm just conscious of the timelines of this being quite heavily involved from Staffordshire Moorland's point of view. And I don't think we can have quite the open discussion which you are leading to at this moment.
From my perspective, we're just signing a partnership document.
Yes.
And if you wanted to look in more detail, then
I do think there's more detail with the timeline required. At the next stage, I do think there's more detail which we need to discuss, which could be very beneficial if we can get it over the line. But at this moment in time, it would
Okay, so
be confidential.
well, Councillor Yates proposed appointed to confidential. Councillor Hart seconded that proposal. Councillor Jones.
Yeah, I don't know if we do need to move it into confidential at this stage. We're not talking about detail.
Potentially because of the time.
Well, we're not, are we? We're just, all we're going to do, are we going to sign the terms of reference? And I think it is just the terms of reference. That's the agenda item, Chair. I don't think we need to move it to confidential. The vote's barred.
I want to say, well, a point to the vote then, really.
Yeah, if we can just for the point of information, just to put some meat on the bones, that there's a timeline that we have to submit potential bids, which we as a town council, we as one of the bodies would want to do, which I believe is the 15th of June, which is not very long. So a discussion around what opportunities we've got for bidding, even if it might be 2 minutes or 5 minutes, I think as well worth having, and that would need to be in confidential.
That was a quick vote then. Councillor Yates proposed appointed to confidential. Any votes on that?
Can I just ask a question? I mean, I've sort of been to various meetings on this. I got the impression that potentially the Staffordshire group that were actually coming up with this were looking for projects, but they weren't. It was them who were actually going to apply for the money and get the funding for the relevant projects, not the town council. I mean, that was my understanding, that they would actually look at items that they would think, yes, that's a good idea for a project, and they would actually submit the application for that project. And as I say, to my mind, it wasn't something that the town council were going to do. Yes, we'd go along with it, but we wouldn't be doing it. I mean, have I got the wrong end of the stick somewhere? But basically, that was my understanding from the meetings that I've been on.
That's pretty confidential, aren't we? They can say things.
Well, I can answer that question easily enough. So if you've read the terms of reference, you'll see that in the partnership agreement that what they're basically looking at is Staffordshire Wildlife Trust is the lead agency. That's not their words, but that's essentially what they are. And they've had a 12-month, 18-month chunk of money, basically, to pull together projects that would do exactly that, transform the Trent Headwaters project. So that's within our patch. Now, as part of that, what they've been doing is all sorts of background work to identify suitable projects within the patch. And then now they're at the point of moving forward with putting in for however much that would cost. So that could run into millions because it's quite a big patch and there are quite a number of people who've put forward some projects. But my understanding is, in order to kind of move forward with that, you need to agree to sign up to the terms of reference, the partnership agreements, that you can continue to be a partner within that. Now, there are different levels of kind of partnerships. Now, there are some projects in Biddulph that we would want to move forward with, and there is a meeting coming up to kind of further discuss those and bounce those ideas around, which I think is probably what Councillor Yates wants to talk a bit more detail with. But essentially, we take a view then as to what involvement we want. There might be that we would be delivering some of those projects if that's what you decide, or it might be that we help to steer the progress. But the funding body is Staffordshire Wildlife Trust. They're the ones who are accountable for the funds, but they obviously can't deliver everything. So that's why they need partners and organisations such as us to help with the delivery of that. So that's my understanding of that. We can have kind of, as you've seen in their terms of reference, there's lots of different kind of involvement levels, whether you're a board member or a delivery member or, you know, that kind of thing.
I mean, through the chair, I mean, the thing that were discussed at the meeting was obviously from a Biddulph Moor point of view, was sort of opening up the Trent Head well and this sort of thing. And this potentially could be a project going forward, and also sort of pathways down to Knipersley Pool from Biddulph Moor, these type of things. And they were looking at the way that they made it understand that they were looking as how the project would work in terms of basically what would need to be done, how it would be costed. And basically they would actually then make the application for the money to do this. So, but then the issue would be they get the money, but who's actually going to do it? Because that's where the next bit comes along. Because obviously from a Biddulph Moor point of view, BMCA were involved in a lot of the discussions that went on in terms of this sort of work. So it isn't just the town council that they were looking at. They were looking at other areas as well to be involved.
Well, you can see the list of partners on there for me, Chair. BMCA is not one of the partners currently. Whether they would want to be, whether they've had an offer of that, I don't know. But I think if you're going to deliver a project within this, you need to have the infrastructure in order to do that. And I don't know whether you'd say that they did. Certainly that idea of progressing walks that way, that started as something that, I mean, lots of people have thought that for years, haven't they? But that's a Trent Valley Way project that we've been working on for a long time as well. So I don't know, Chair, it's up to you to take a vote.
Oh, okay, well, have a look one. Councillor Yates and then Jones then.
Yes, I think it's 4.2 is quite clear. Each delivery partner will be responsible for ensuring correct and eligible delivery of their part of the project, submitting eligible evidence in a timeline to ensure the lead partner to make grants and to provide evidence as required by the lead partner for project delivery outcomes and outputs. Basically, the Staffordshire Wildlife Trust, who, you know, with the greatest and best of will, are based in Wolseley. They have some project management around here, but they would not be able to second guess what potential project any of the other members would want to do on land which is within their sort of area of influence, so to speak. So any of those delivery partners can put forward a proposal for consideration. They will then be aggregated together to make one effective super bid to the National Lottery for ideally the total amount of money. But if the money comes short, then it'd be a case of going through which projects drop out. The reality of it is, though, is we're in a position to actually put bids where we've got the local knowledge potentially, which is why I wanted to go into confidential, which Staffordshire Wildlife Trust haven't got. And I'm very aware, as somebody who attends all the strategic meetings on this, that they have put an appeal out to members who to effectively supply that supporting information before the 15th of June, so they can collate everything together. They are not in a position capacity-wise to second guess what other people want to do. So everybody was tasked, and that membership list is there. Staffordshire Moorlands, Biddulph Town Council, whatever, I class for the meeting, were tasked with coming up with their project ideas so they could be included in the bid. And they're looking for substantial project idea, because this is a substantial bid, which is why I think, which really elevated the game as far as I'm concerned, you know, made it a lot more sort of interesting. And that's why I wanted to go into confidential, because I think we have got opportunities.
Councillor Jones?
Yeah, I don't disagree with what councillor Yates has said, but I don't think we need to discuss that detail here tonight. I think this agenda item is
You will sign it.
signed the terms of reference, and that's basically, do you want to be on the team, really? And I think that's all we're doing tonight. If we confirm that, that's
If we want to sign the terms of reference, so then speak about the details once we signed up.
that needs to be discussed at length, but not necessarily here tonight.
Then I will submit through the chair that if we sign these terms of reference before we leave tonight, we set up a meeting almost as soon as absolutely possible, because we've only got a couple of weeks to get it
I don't disagree with that. I think you need a task.
one or the other. But at the end of the day, as I'm saying, is that it's very clear we need to submit bids if we want to submit bids. Have a discussion on that.
So we'll go back to agenda item. We'll sign up if all in favour. Then we'll have a meeting in the very near future to go through the fine details. Is that okay?
I think, you know, in the interim and very quickly now, we do need to bottom out things like land ownership and stuff like that prior to that meeting, which we can do fairly quickly.
Okay.
I did volunteer to sort that one out.
Alan? So do you have a proposal that we sign this?
Has the previous motion been withdrawn then?
I don't know now. Is it failed?
Well, the consensus seems to be is that we don't want to conclude it tonight, so yeah, I'll withdraw that much.
Okay.
So proposed and a second. is
Proposed and a
fine.
second that we sign those. Proposed by Councillor Yates, seconded by Councillor Jones. All in favour? Thank you. Do you want to set up a meeting now or on?
Well, it needs to be next week.
Yeah, I know, but do you set a date now? I'm saying, or next week?
I don't know.
Okay, set a date now of when we meet then?
Okay.
Okay.
The diary.
We could still discuss in more depth then, can't we? Tuesday.
We've got the cycle path meeting on the 3rd, we haven't we? Thursday the 5th. 5 o'clock. If we had a meeting before then, I suppose everybody's around.
4 o'clock Thursday.
An hour enough?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
4 o'clock on the 5th.
Okay.
That is presumably that's open to anybody on this committee. Well, any councillor.
Okay, so 4 o'clock on Thursday the 5th. Here. Everybody wants to be involved to discuss in depth. That's okay, thank you. Okay. Yeah then. Moving on to number 10 then. Do the town council action plan for 25-26 based on the 5-year strategy. That is the big document. There's 10 highlighted points. Work on. And it tells you which committee it will be derived from. We got the big document, Andrew, which comes from your smoke. Oh, okay. How we go through these one by one?
Yes, you can do. It's so obviously you've signed off the 5-year strategy. That's 24 to 29. So this is the second year of the 5-year strategy. I've picked out 10 projects that we've already spoken in some detail about that I think are probably deliverable, but within this 12-month period. In terms of the funding allocated, when we get to look at the reserves policy, in a few minutes' time, you'll see that those figures are carried through to that document. Obviously, there's a much more significant list of key tasks attached to this. Just for your consideration and approval, or anything else you want adding to there, but as I say, it's come from the strategy.
Councillor Jackson,
I'm not necessarily saying in the next 12-month time frame, but within the 5-year time frame. We put in the Shepherd Street allotment site, develop that.
Yes, that's in the wider strategy.
Yeah,
I ummed and ahed about putting it in here, but then I thought that might be something that comes to us via kind of local government reorganisation that way. So it
If
would be a
we
lot
got it in-
period than.
if we've got it in as one of the aims now,
Yeah,
it perhaps strengthens the hand a little bit further down the line,
Yeah.
that we've had it on the radar for a considerable time.
but a more generic number 6 is ensure that town assets and services are appropriately at a local level. So that's a more generic on there, but I can add some extra wording in that. So, for example, allotment sites or
Fine, thank you, Sarah.
needs finalising, as we know, it's been on a long time, hasn't it, that one?
Yeah, I think, depending on how it goes with reorganisation of assets, that might finally resolve that.
Yeah. Any other comments on the 10? Want to go through them one by one, or?
Oh, quite happy with the next topic.
You meant to browse through and shout if you need any further information or anything, Councillor Yates?
Yeah, I did raise the issue with the Country Park Visitor Centre and the fact that the asbestos roof needs uninsulated asbestos roof, especially looking at electricity costs, things which you've got and heating costs, needs replacing, and whether we could steer the UK Shared Prosperity Fund grants towards doing that, because whether it's going to last another 10 years, 15 years, it's certainly going to hemorrhage energy in the meantime. And there is potential monies available with the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, and it would make it solar panel ready, if not actually deliver it in the same instance. And I think chunking it into 2 parts, get the asbestos gone, get the insulation sorted out, and then at the next opportunity, get the solar panels on or whatever, would be a more cost manageable way of doing it, to be perfectly honest. So that's just something to put into the mix, which is slightly different there because there was £2,000 earmarked for the turbines, but the UK SPF angle would be slightly different to that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't included external funding in these because obviously that's no. We've obviously got in here the repair and install renewable energy sources at the Visitor Centre as an aim for this 12-month period, but until we've been allocated funding from externals, say that has been.
Again, there's a stupidly tight deadline, isn't there? Christopher? What did you say it was for the UK, coming back on the UK Shared Prosperity Fund?
It's about
It's June.
3 weeks. 3 weeks, I think.
Which we expect slippage and we expect things to clump together. So, which does give us the opportunity of doing something a little bit better, which is what I with other things. So,
Okay, all okay with these then, these 10?
with those.
Further, Councillor Brady, opposed, seconded?
Who's proposing second?
Brady, Adrian Hart. Seconded, opposed to second. All in favour? Thank you, we'll add that other one about the allotments.
Yeah, I'll just put for example.
Yeah. Thanks, John. Number 11, food reserves policy, 2025. Officer, please.
Yeah, so obviously you look at your reserves policy this time every year. We've changed some wording around there. That's significantly different. I've just updated most of the updates are just figures. So I suppose probably the thing of most interest for your consideration is Appendix A, which is the level of reserve. So we've allocated 320,000 for a general reserve, and then in the table below that, and everything was read, and we've allocated earmarked reserves for projects that you've just considered within the action plan, and areas where we would usually set some funding aside, or where we've had funds that we've carried over from the past year. So, for example, CCTV enhancements, we had a grant for that at the end of the last financial year, which wasn't deliverable. So that's been moved forward to this year. And we always put at the bottom there, we always put a small amount for a future burial area, should a piece of land come up that we're interested in. So those are the priorities that, as I say, we've identified and some funds allocated to those. I don't know if anyone's got any questions.
Yeah, councillor Hall, please, yes.
Right. Yeah, basically, just having a look at the level of reserves, and we've got general reserves allocation 320,000. And I'm sort of thinking, I'm having a look at the current year end. Have we got that anywhere? That 300, is that, have we actually put that away somewhere?
Yep, so the figure that you've got there, the 550, that's in CCLA,
Right.
which is local authority.
So potentially what we've got, the reason I'm going back to the income and expenditure cap, because basically you've got the general fund. So we'd be saying that, but we haven't actually put that in the CCLA amount in there, say that we've actually got that is.
Yeah, I need to show you the balance in CCLA at the moment. So the balance at the end of March at CCLA was 467. If you look on their bank reconciliation, the previous. And so the additional reserves are within the normal bank account.
You've got a balance at 1st of April of 230,000. Which is that the equivalent of what we've got in earmarked reserves? So it's just, I'm a bit confused. So, and I'm just sort of wondering where the 320,000 is, and should that actually be detailed somewhere on that?
Yeah, it's the 320,000 and the 230,000 are what we've essentially got across all of our bank accounts at the end of the financial year. So, well, it's the position now. So you can
that's why
reconciliation.
Except that we've got that across the bank accounts, but when we sort of say what the general fund is, should we actually have that detailed on that 300, that general bank accounts, which we've got 550,000, should that actually be on the general fund on that income and expenditure account thing that we've got, that we've provided? That's why I'm sort of asking the question. Effectively, what we're saying is that balance as at is the 290,000, but what we said is stuffed away. There's another 550,000, and should that actually be on that piece of paper there, saying that we've got that?
That is that figure. This general fund here is the 230 and the 290.
Right.
Which is, well, it's slightly shy of the 550 I've allocated there, because we've got some additional funds that have come in at the start of the year. But it's that's those two figures added up there.
Yeah, because we've got CCLA account on the accounts thing, which is detailed on there.
Are you saying you want me to put a line in that says?
I'm wondering where we've got general fund at the bottom of that,
Right.
whether we could actually allocate the fact that we've got that CCLA money as well.
Right.
Yeah, no, but that is all in CCLA. The balance at the 1st of April 2024, balance at the 31st of March, those figures there. Oh no, the earmarked reserve balance, that's what.
But you've got
the 263 at the bottom of the earmarked reserve balance there, and the balance of 290 there is where you get your 550 from. That's in your general.
Two added together. Yeah.
That's in your reserves, and then anything we've got that's not essentially the precept for the day-to-day running is within the CCLA account.
Yeah, as I say, I'm still a bit confused, but okay, well, as I say, I just sort of wondered whether that CCLA thing should actually be kept detailed on the final statement.
Yeah, I think it's a scribe report. I don't know how you add additional words to it. We could always add to the reserves policy that these level of reserves here
Yeah.
are held within the CCLA
Yeah,
out here, so that you can, you know, that they're not just sitting in the normal
Right.
bank.
because I mean, that's sort of saying the balance at the 31st of March is 290,000, but we are saying that we've got 467,000 in CCLA, you know.
Rearrange slightly if you wish to.
Usable reserve, usable reserve, because those reserves are not usable, are they? But we've got to hold.
I'll see if I can, like I say, it's a scribe report that comes from our IT system. I'm not sure if you can add additional words.
The thing is, I mean, we've identified questions with Scribe where
Yeah, but we
we think
felt like we needed more
potentially
clarification.
doesn't tie in with everything that we need to do and give us, in some ways, accurate pictures of everything overall.
Highlight your thoughts, see what we can do about that for you.
Yeah, it's essentially on that though, the two figures at the bottom, the 290 and the 263. They're the figures.
That's your last final figure.
They're your final figure that's come through to your 550 for your reserves there. It's just that your income expenditure account doesn't mention CCLA, doesn't mention which account the funds are in. I think that's the point you're getting at, isn't it? That it's not just sat there waiting to be used from the current account.
Okay.
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 Better when we had little.
As I say, I mean, I sit there looking at it and I'm thinking, hang on, somebody's saying there's that there and somebody's, you know, and it doesn't.
Yeah, it's two pots put together, gives you the final figure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, in favour?
We had a proposal.
Those are Councillor Hawley, seconded. Councillor Hart and Councillor Brady. All in favour? Thank you. 12.
Chair, if I may, just before you move off,
Yeah.
well, I'm not gonna, isn't a question, but I know it's not for discussion now, but I was just wondering, given particularly what Councillor Yates has just been describing about the visitor centre and what we want to do with the visitor centre, that amount there looks remarkably low for what we might need for the visitor centre, just to keep in view for going forward. Really. I think we're going to need considerably more than that.
Wouldn't necessarily be our money though.
Yes, so that we get them from somewhere else.
It wouldn't necessarily be our money, that's the key. We got to be fleet of foot on it.
Watch this space, we're looking for money. Thank you, any comment? Number 12 then, Landing Drive, consider and disposal of any assets. I don't think there's any this month, there's anything flagged up.
No, good.
Confirm approved suppliers as part of procurement policy, any new ones
None of
coming?
you? No.
No, we're okay there then.
Yeah.
That comes comment. Right, so that is the end of the public section. Thank you for watching as YouTubers. We shall now go into our confidential item. Let's catch we go. Thank you.